Welcome back to workout vlog number 8. This is week 5 of week 12, and this is our first chest and back night of the week. So I'm actually off because of Labor Day today, which is great, and I got a lot of rest. But the funny thing is, my lower back and my right hip was bothering me today, and I'm not sure exactly why, but whenever I was doing bent over barbell rows, I felt fine. Then whenever I was doing T-bar rows, I felt great. But then whenever I moved to reverse grip bent over barbell rows, I felt like a little something in my low back around my hips. So I don't know if I got inflammation, impingement, or whatever the case is. It was just a little tight, so I kind of had to stay a little bit lighter tonight, but I still got my reps in and everything. But just a little irritating, that little bit of stiffness. So I'm gonna have to kind of get that addressed. So here in the next couple of days, or maybe a week or two, I might have to change up some of my hip hinging movements, like on my hamstring night, and maybe some of my bent over stuff on my back night. I just don't want to inflame my back and cause issues.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely not something you want to make worse or cause to become worse over time. So swapping it out, probably going to be more beneficial for you, at least for a couple of weeks. Give it time to rest, swapping the movement for something a little bit easier on your back. Even if we go cable wise or however. But yeah, so far I had a good week last week. I ended up dropping a little bit of weight, so I was down to 276 for the end of the week. So still progressing, which is good for me. We're going into this week, continue on that same kind of movement, I guess. And so yeah, like the rows and everything, like I'm not really having an issue, but again, this is your second 12-week circuit, so you've been doing them a bit longer than I have. So I can see how your back could, over time, because even at the end of the 4 sets, like, you get kind of fatigued. So 12 weeks worth plus another 5 weeks, that's definitely going to put some wear and tear on it.
Yeah, and the thing too is, as I lose weight, the weights feel heavier and heavier, and I start to become more and more fatigued because my calories are decreasing, my cardio's increasing, and then my workload, I'm trying to keep the weights the same on the bar and try not to lose too much pounds on the movements. But as I start to get tired and fatigued and lose weight, it's going to start feeling heavier and heavier, so I have to make adjustments and everything. And the barbell row is a great movement, but it's also one of those movements that does put a lot of strain on the lower back. And strain does not mean a bad thing. It does help strengthen up the lower back, and it helps get you stronger in that bent over picking something up position. But right now, I think I'm just getting a little bit too fatigued to be putting myself in positions, because like I've been saying this whole time, like don't get too caught up in a routine where it's like dogma, where you feel like I have to absolutely do this movement. This movement is my bread and butter, blah, 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 blah. I don't feel that way about anything that I do. So I don't have any type of like love lost for changing out any exercises or movements for something else that actually decreases the inflammation or the pain that I'm experiencing. I'll work around it. I'm not going to work through it. And I'm actually quite curious, because I think we added good mornings in like 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. And I'm wondering maybe if that movement is what's causing my lower back to be flared up, because whenever I used to powerlift, I did good mornings every week, but it was only, once a week, and I was only training 3 days a week, not 6 days a week. So I'm wondering if that movement might just be a little bit too much on my back to recover in the short amount of time that we have to be ready to go for the next workout,
Yeah, and also like these movements, like before when you were doing powerlifting, the movements you were doing, like the bent over barbell rows and stuff like that, you had those movements in there because you needed to be stronger in that position. So you put yourself in the position, like for a deadlift, to be able to continue strengthening that lift without doing the actual deadlift. But now you're not doing it for that specific purpose. You're doing it just for the feel of the muscle. So if you can do a different movement that's not going to put as much tax on your lower back, but still feel it in that muscle, you can go that route a lot easier, because you're not really as focused on like keeping strong in every part of the movement kind of thing like you were with powerlifting.
Yeah, that's actually a really valid point right there too. And sometimes I lose sight of that because I still have that powerlifting mentality. Hence why I pause at the bottom of every rep on like dumbbell press. I don't bench press no more, but like I still have that mentality of like hold at the bottom for a second or two before I press up, because when you're competing at powerlifting, the bench press, you have to hold it at the bottom before you're allowed to get the press command. So a lot of my movements, like the barbell rows, like that is like the mid-range motion to me to the deadlift that I modeled my training off of for my assistance work to help get me stronger in that position. So you're right. Like I do view some movements still as like an overall like good movement to do for muscle building, but there are better movements for me to do for bodybuilding because I'm not trying to strengthen up the whole area or the compound movement. I'm trying to target a direct muscle and trying to muscle pump and feel that and fatigue in that muscle. So if I have to switch to cables or dumbbells to kind of replace the barbell row or whatever, I will, because like I said, there's no locked in program or routine or certain type of reps or sets or exercises that's going to, cause me to not be able to hit my results. It's just I have to do what I need to do to be able to stay injury free, but keep making progression.
Yeah, for sure. So, if we do swap out for another movement, I don't really think it's going to be too terrible, like, because it'll be a movement that's going to continue to focus directly on the area without putting as much strain on the lower back and other areas. So, like, we're still going to get that hard feel in the area like we want. So, as far as this week's training, like for the first day, even I was feeling like a little bit more fatigued than usual. But again, we had a little bit of rain today. Humidity was up, like you were saying, because I was just pouring in there. And like I usually sweat a lot, but man, today was just on another level.
Yeah, the humidity's been real low the last couple of weeks because we haven't had rain, but the humidity kind of came in heavy today, and that's what kind of like gets me too when it comes to dehydrating, is that humidity will wreck me. But also, I wouldn't mind switching up to like some cable movements because like instead of doing barbell rows, we could do cable rows, and instead of doing reverse grip barbell rows, we could do reverse grip cable rows. And then we have the iso lateral row, and then we could change hand grip and hand positions on that, keep the load lighter, and just try to focus on squeezing and pulling in different areas. And I mean, if we really absolutely have to, I mean, I'd hate for it to come to this, but we could also look at buying a ladder, like an ISO pull down machine, and expanding the gym a little bit on our equipment. But also, there's reverse grip pull downs. I like those a lot, doing reverse grip pull downs, and that's a really great movement to do too. So like we have options that we could change it out to, and to be completely honest, I think we might change some of them out too because. Like I said, there's a lot of benefits to reap from doing barbell rows and reverse grip barbell rows. But right now, as it stands, like my lower back is a little inflamed. And I'm not saying this is dangerous for your back because it's not. It's just right now my low back, I'm beating it like crazy right now with working out my back twice a week, working out my legs twice a week, and then doing cardio 3 times a day like I'm doing. It's a lot on my hips and it's a lot on my lower back. So I need to find some way to kind of like relieve some of that strain. So if I can avoid bending over on back movements and stay more upright, like doing close grip pull downs or reverse grip pull downs or something like that, or maybe buying an ISO high lateral row or something, it would definitely change the dynamic of the stress on my lower back.
Yeah, something that, like you're saying, is just going to be easier on the body as a whole, like not put strain on areas that you're not wanting to focus on. Because all in all, you're not trying to get injured. Like nobody's in there with the purpose of trying to get injured usually when they're working out. So as long as you're able to focus, like do a movement that you're able to focus on the area you're wanting to put the focus on without putting the extra strain, I think that's mostly the key for the bodybuilding side of it. So if we end up swapping out to like the cable pull downs or however it goes, I think it's going to be beneficial overall just to help keep the focus on the lats and everything like you're wanting to without having any serious issues with like hip pain, back pain, because over time, the more it builds up, the more it's going to hurt. And that's just going to lead to possibly a further injury, or sometimes it leads people to just be like, you know what, I'm done for a little while. And that's not what we're going for. We're going for more longevity kind of thing. So if swapping out is going to be the more beneficial thing, I think that's definitely the way to go.
Yeah, and especially, I'm 36, I'm rolling up on 37, and if I was a younger man in my 20s, I'd be like, nah, man, we got this, and I can recover from it. I just need a whatever. And like I said, the main thing about your workouts and your routine is what you can recover from and how much volume you can recover from. So My problem isn't the volume. My problem is the area of my lower back that's starting to kind of get inflamed. People could say, well, it's because you're doing too much and there's too much volume and there's blah. Oh, well, there's a lot of static holds on my lower back. Like I said, doing the barbell rows, the T-bar rows, or reverse grip barbell rows, doing the good mornings, doing this
Romanian deadlifts.
Romanian deadlifts, back extensions. There's a lot of static load on that part of my body. So if I reduce some of that static load and alleviate some of that strain, then it should help my back recover a little bit faster, because I'd rather isolate a muscle at this point in time and contract that muscle and then have to engage 4 other muscles just to be engaging that one muscle, then have to lighten the load to be able to alleviate the part of my body that's agitated, that's preventing me from going as heavy as I need to go to overload the muscle that I'm trying to overload. Because right now it's like I'm trying to target, some people could say, oh, that's a lazy way of training or blah, 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 blah. But everyone has their own opinion and their own idea of what's optimal. And I don't care about optimal. I care about results and longevity. So I'm going to do whatever it takes to get to wherever I need to be at this point in life, because I'm not getting no younger, and it's not, if anything else, my opportunities are just fleeting further and further away from me the longer I take to actually put as much effort as I can into getting them. And you can say, oh, you need to back off to grow more. But here's the thing too. When I powerlifted, I worked out 3 days a week with high intensity, high intensity. And I was not a mass monster. I was around 270, but I was a fat 270. So to sit there and say you're doing too much volume for bodybuilding, you need to work out 3 days a week, and then you need to hit the muscle really, really hard with a lot of intensity. I have done that for years when I powerlifted. I've done DC training. I've done all kinds of different powerlifting, 5-3-1. I've done my own powerlifting routines. Many others I'm not going to name because I'm not going to throw them out there and stuff like that, because these were programs that I tried on my own accord, and I'm not going to advertise for anybody else. But at the same time, it's like I've done all these different routines, and I never got 20-inch arms. I never got 32-inch thighs from doing these high-intensity training. So I know for me to build muscle, for my body, it's not about intensity, it's about volume and frequency, because that's what my body needs to grow. When I train a body part twice a week, it responds way better than if I train it once a week super heavy. So, but I think that's going to be it for me on this one. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, that's good for tonight.
All right, well, keep in mind, guys, no matter what, at the end of the day, there's going to be negative people out there that are going to try to beat you down and knock you down a peg or two, because really they just can't stand to see any type of happiness in others because they're miserable themselves. So if those people are in your life, do your best to stay away from them, or even just cut them completely out of your life, and always look forward to what you're capable of, or not what someone says you cannot be capable of. So, just stay positive. Let's support each other. Let's have each other's backs, and try to all push forward together, because at the end of the day, we're in this together and we're all after the same goal, and that's to be better than we were yesterday. So, and when you're in the gym, remember, at the end of the day, if there is no agony, there will be no bragging. Well, that's it for me. Until next time.
Catch you on the flippity flip.
On the flippity flip.